guys, welcome back to my channel. We are doing a weekend vlog this weekend and it is Friday, my virtual Friday. I ended off with the last vlog with showing you guys the office upstairs, or what I've gotten done of the office upstairs, which I'm still waiting for everything else to come in. But I do have an appointment today to get my eyebrows microbladed, so that's why I don't have any makeup on. I just showered and got dressed and got ready, but obviously I don't need to put any makeup on because I'm getting my eyebrows done. So getting that done today, so I will keep you guys updated on that process. I'm pretty excited about it because I am excited about the thought of just not having to fill my eyebrows in every day. It takes me forever to do my eyebrows, and they're always cousins, not sisters. So hopefully, the girl I'm going to is fantastic. Her work is fantastic, and I cannot wait to see the results. So gonna do that. I'll keep you updated on the healing process, how everything goes, the pain, all of that kind of stuff. I will keep you guys updated on. So I do have some things to do for work before I go and do that. And then also this weekend I'm going to attempt to make homemade focaccia bread. Been seeing all these recipes for it. It looks pretty simple. So I got all the ingredients and I'm gonna attempt to make that this weekend. So I'll show you guys that. I'll get my niece tonight, and then my friend Jessie had her second baby about a week ago. So they're home and settled, so I'm gonna take them dinner tonight and go see the baby. I'm so excited. So I'm so excited to go see the baby and hold the baby. And then other things I gotta do this weekend. I want to organize my pantry, like medicine area. It is a mess, so I got some bins to organize that, so I'll show you guys that. I think I'm gonna use one of the bins, possibly if I have enough room, if I have enough bins left over, or I might just get some more bins to do like dog stuff in, so like treats and stuff like that, because we do Bark Box. We do Bark Box, so they get a ton of treats in those little bags, and I just have them like all stuffed in an area in the pantry. So I want to clean that out, and I have like this like shelf that I've been meaning to build for in there for a while. So we'll do all of that this weekend, and yeah, I will just bring you guys with me for a quick weekend in my life vlog. So I'm gonna get to work, get some things done, and then go to my appointment and figure out what I'm going to take to Jessie tonight for dinner. So talk to you guys later. I am back from my eyebrow appointment and they look phenomenal. So it really wasn't painful. She does like a open skin numbing cream, so you can really like the first pass you can feel it, then after that it's numb and you can just kind of like hear it. But I absolutely love them. I love a fuller brow, you guys know that. She took her time and she was like amazing. So I went to Jade at the Edit Skin Studio and she was phenomenal. I totally recommend her. So they're just freshly done. She said they would get, they have Aquaphor on them, and I have to put that on there for the next 5 days. And I can't get them completely wet for the next 5 days. And then she said they will get darker and then they'll get a lot lighter, but not to freak out that that's just the healing process. But I think she did such a great job, and I'm so excited to just always have my eyebrows done now. And it's gonna take so much time off of my getting ready process. So I wanted to show you guys the after because they look great. So again, that is Jade at the Edit, and I will link it down below so you guys can know exactly where I'm talking about if you're in the Huntsville area. So highly, highly, highly recommend her. She was great. And I just wanted to show you guys the after. So I'm gonna get back to work now. Good morning. So I've been up for a while, but I just spent the last like 30 minutes frantically getting my niece ready to go to cheerleading practice. So I told you guys that I wanted to make homemade focaccia bread. I've actually never made a bread before, so we'll see how it goes. Use only, obviously, because I've never even used my dough whisk. So I'm gonna make homemade focaccia bread today. So today I'm gonna get the dough all mixed up so that it can sit. It's supposed to sit for at least 8 hours, but you can have it sit for a day. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it this morning so that I can bake it tomorrow. So I just gotta get my bowl out here so that I can mix up the hot water and yeast and sugar and let that sit for 5 minutes before I put the bread flour in. So I'm gonna grab all of my ingredients and I'll be back. So I just found a recipe off of TikTok that I'm gonna use for this to know how much to use. So I need 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, and then you mix that with 1/4 cup of warm water and a teaspoon of sugar, and then you're just gonna let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes. I mean 1/4 teaspoon. Is that what I said? 2 1/4, yep. So I'm gonna do that first. So I got my little teaspoon here. 1, 2. I'm gonna move this down so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I did 2 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. And then you're gonna do, I think you refrigerate this afterwards, yeah. And then 1/4 cup of warm water. So got a little 1/4 cup here. I'm just gonna get some warm water. While that warms up, I'm gonna put my sugar in there. A teaspoon of sugar. You can do honey as well. I saw a lot of recipes that called for honey, but I'm just gonna do sugar because I have it sitting right here on my counter. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, it's almost warm. So it looks like right now. And then you're gonna let it sit. Okay, so that was on the yeast packet, and see how it's starting to foam? That means my yeast is active. So I'm gonna let this, I'm gonna actually go ahead and add the rest of the water to this. So it's 2 1/2 cups of lukewarm water since my water's already warm. So there's 1. And there's 2. And since we did a 1/4, we'll do another 1/4 and that'll be 1/2. All right, so I'm gonna let that sit. Whisk it a little, mix everything together. Okay. So now I'm just gonna let this sit and I'm gonna let it foam up and let that yeast activate. And then we will add the rest of the ingredients to this and put it in the mixer and go ahead and mix up the dough. So while it's sitting, I'm gonna go ahead and move it to the mixer. So I'm just gonna let that sit and activate and put this yeast in the fridge. And so my eyebrows are doing great. So I went ahead and, like, you're supposed to clean around them with a cloth, but you can't get them fully wet for at least 5 days. So I went ahead and cleaned my face, took a shower and did all of that, but just cleaned around the eyebrows and then put the you can do, I think it's A&D or what else is it? Aquaphor. So I put the Aquaphor on there so they stay you don't want them to dry out and scab up too much because that's gonna make you lose pigment. So they're looking really good. Still love them. Yeah, so that is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna let that sit and then we'll come back and we will add our bread flour and make our dough. So now we're gonna do the flour. So the yeast is sat here and activated. So now we're gonna add 5 cups of bread flour. Some called for all-purpose flour, some called for bread flour. I just chose to use bread flour. Obviously, I have never used this one since I'm having to open it, but that's what I'm going to go with. just gonna add this in to the wet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 cups of bread flour and a tablespoon of salt. Let me get my salt. All right, now let's mix this up. It would help if I brought it up. Well, there we go. Okay, it's all coming away from the sides, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it out of this, and I'm gonna put it in an oiled bowl, and then we'll cover that and let it sit overnight. So, back to the counter. So I'm just gonna put, can you see? I'm gonna put some olive oil in this bowl and then dump the dough out in here. I'm gonna take my rings off and flip it over and get it oiled on all sides. Some olive oil in my bowl here. This is extra virgin olive oil. Just gonna oil it really well. You wanna make sure it's not gonna stick as it proves. All right. This is what my dough looks like. So I'm literally just gonna dump it out into this oil that I just put in here. It's very sticky, so be aware. All right. So now I'm just going to like fold this around and get oil on all sides of the dough. Okay, now that it's nice and oily, all the dough is covered in oil, I'm going to cover this in plastic wrap and I'm going to put it in my fridge overnight, and it should double in size. I mean, it's going to rise a lot, so that's why I did a big bowl. Cover this tightly. And we are just gonna let it sit overnight in the fridge. It's ready to go. All right, I'm gonna clean up my mess, and then I am going to put together that shelf that I told you it's gonna go, I think I told you that. I have a shelf that's gonna go in the bottom of my pantry because it is a mess in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put that together while I watch probably Made. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, and I heard it's really good. So I think I'm gonna binge that today. Okay, good morning. So we have let the focaccia dough sit all night long, so I'm about to dump it out on a sheet pan. I'm gonna put some oil in the sheet pan, dump it out, cover it, and let it prove again for about 30 minutes to an hour. And then I'm gonna bake that. And then I'm gonna bake that. So I figured I'll go ahead and do it this morning. It's early, it's like 6:30. Because I think I'm gonna make some biscuits this morning as well. So just have the oven on one time and get everything cooked. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna see how the dough looks. I'm gonna wash my hands real quick. It's definitely risen. Smells really good. So I'm going to oil this pan, and then let me pull this down so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm just gonna pull this away from the sides of the bowl, deflate it a little bit, and then dump it out onto this. Awesome. do is just stretch this out onto this pan. So cold. All right, so I'm gonna cover this and I'm gonna let this sit and prove for another hour or so at room temperature instead of putting it in the fridge this time. And my boyfriend just told me that I should start watching Midnight Mass on Netflix. So after I get done with my baking today, I think I'm gonna start binge watching that. Okay, so this is covered. So I'm just gonna let this sit for about an hour while I make biscuits. I'm gonna show you guys how I make my buttermilk biscuits. So all you need are 3 ingredients. You're gonna need, I use White Lily self-rising flour. So I'm actually doubling the batch. You would normally do 2 cups of self-rising flour, a cup of buttermilk, and a stick of frozen butter. But I am doubling the batch so that I can freeze some of them and then we can cook them at another day because I really need to use up this buttermilk. So you're gonna do 4 cups. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cups of flour. And then I'm going to go and chop up this butter and come back. Some people grate it. You can grate it into your batter, and that's great. It's wonderful, but that takes a long time. So I'm literally just gonna chop it up and then get my hands in there and get it all. You want it to be like the consistency of sand. So I'll be right back. All right, so that's 2 sticks of butter that I've chopped up. I just keep butter in my freezer at this point because I make biscuits so often that it just works out better for us to keep some butter in the freezer. So what I'm gonna do is, there's some bigger chunks in here as you can see, so I'm just gonna break those up. And I'm just gonna get my hands in here, and you don't wanna work it too much, but you wanna get that butter incorporated. If you have one of these pastry things, then you can use that. I like to use that to get started most of the time, and then I get my hands in there too. I like to leave, like, I know people like to grate it, and I do grate it sometimes, but I find that doing it this way, it gets those little, like, there's some bigger pieces of butter in there, and so when you're eating the biscuits, you just get that, like, nice little pocket of butter, and it's really, really yummy. So now that I've gotten it incorporated, I'm gonna just get my hands in there and break up some of those bigger pieces. You know that kinetic sand stuff? That's what this feels like. And my grandmother actually made her biscuits with Crisco, which I do sometimes if I don't have butter, but I just prefer the taste of the butter. See how you have the consistency of like wet sand? So you want it to, like, when you squeeze it, it forms a ball. So that's exactly what you want. You want that wet sand feel to your dough. Well, it's not dough yet, to your mixture before you add in your buttermilk. I'm just baking up a storm in this episode. Let me know if you guys like this. This episode, like I have a TV show. Okay, so that's what we want.
Like I said, I like those kind of bigger chunks so I don't break them all up. I just think it's a nice bite when you get that buttery biscuit bite. Now we are going to, you do not want to overmix this dough, okay? So once you put your buttermilk in, you don't want to overmix it. So what I like to do is just make a little well in the middle, like that, and then put my 2 cups of buttermilk in there. You're supposed to use whole fat buttermilk, but I went to Trader Joe's and all they had was fat-free. So we doing what we have with what we have. All right. So now you just want to get that buttermilk all incorporated. So you're gonna get some nasty hands at this point, or delicious hands, however you want to think about it. As soon as you see it start to come together, that's what you want, okay? So see how it's starting to come together? So we're about to just dump it out on, I have like one of those pastry mats, so I'm gonna move you guys over there and we will dump it out and make our biscuits. Okay, so I hope you guys can see this pretty well. Move y'all back a little. So this is a pastry mat that I got off of Amazon. I will link it if you guys would like to shop it. So I just put a little bit of flour out on it. It is a non-stick, but I still like to put a little flour out. So you're just gonna dump out the dough, get in all that goodness. And then we're just gonna fold it a few times to make sure it's all incorporated and you have some nice layers in your dough. So we're just gonna flatten it out. And then see all that butter in there? Oh, so good. I'm just gonna fold it up. Move it a little. There we go. Fold it again. All right. You see all those chunks of butter in there? Yeah. So now I'm gonna flatten it out and I'm gonna cut out my biscuits and put them in a well-greased cast iron skillet. So I'm just gonna get my butter and grease my skillet and get these biscuits in there. I normally do them to about, it's probably about a 1/2 inch thick. Look at all that butter, yum. So, got a well-greased cast iron. So these are my biscuit cutters. So last time I made really big cat head biscuits. I think I'm going to make them a little smaller, use the next size down this week. What I like to do is take this and just dip it down in my flour and get it a little bit of flour on it so that they don't stick. You're just gonna punch out your biscuits. I know everybody like has a way of doing biscuits or has a family recipe. This is just the way that I have found that we like them the best. Oh, I broke one. It's okay. Just squish it back together. Get in there, biscuit. Okay, so now I'm just gonna form this into some more biscuits because we don't want to let any of that good dough go to waste. Look at that, 3 more biscuits out of that. And it's okay if they touch in your cast iron. You kind of want them to, so you get that nice, like, doughy inside with those crispy outsides. So we are gonna pack some biscuits in here. We'll have a few to freeze so I can pop them in the oven one day this week and have breakfast. So I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like in the pan, and then I'm gonna throw these bad boys in the oven. So this is what we have in our pan. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of buttermilk and I'm going to brush it on the top of each one of these biscuits. And in there they go. Cook them for about 15 minutes and then I'll check on them. So just pulled the biscuits out. They are nice and crispy on the top, and they have like a crispy edge around that touch the side of the cast iron. So now I'm gonna make some gravy to go with the biscuits. You can't have biscuits without gravy, right? So I'm gonna show you guys how I make gravy. So I have about 2 tablespoons of baking fat in my skillet there. So you're just gonna heat that until it melts, and I keep my bacon drippings in the fridge because that makes the best gravy, or sausage, either one. Sausage gravy is delicious as well. So I'm just gonna melt that down. It's probably a little bit more than 2 tablespoons, but so then you're going to get your flour ready. So let me move my flour out here. Maybe I can see that okay. So that's melting. And then we're gonna do 4 tablespoons of flour. All right, now we're gonna do 4 tablespoons of flour. 1, 2, 3. Oop, spilled some. 4. You just mix that in and see if that's enough flour. You want it to be, you want it to soak up all that grease, and it's okay if it's a little clumpy because you're going to add milk and you're going to stir all of that into that milk. So you're just going to let that cook for a little bit and get that flour, that raw flour taste out, and then you'll add your milk and your salt and pepper. So you can go ahead and get your salt and pepper ready. Make some room while that cooks a little. My mess. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add, let that, you can see that it's starting to like get a little brown down there. Hopefully you can see that. I'm gonna add 3 cups of milk. You wanna get all of that off the bottom of the pan and mixed in. And if you want your gravy a little browner, you can let that brown a little bit more. It's really just preference, whatever you like. So now I'm gonna add a teaspoon of black pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. gonna whisk until this becomes a thick gravy, and you are done, fam. Like, how easy is that? See how it's starting to thicken a little bit? You can see those bubbles start to form. That's what you want. The way I do gravy is 2, 4, 3. So 2 tablespoons of your fat or your butter, then 4 tablespoons of flour, and then 3 cups of milk. And you can adjust as you see fit. Like if it starts to get a little too thick for you, you can add a little bit more milk, or you could add a little less flour when you're initially starting out. You just don't want to add more flour once you get to this stage because you want it to cook out that raw flour taste. And if you add flour now, it's not going to cook that floury taste out of your gravy. I had one aunt that made breakfast gravy, and we called hers brown breakfast gravy, and then my mom's was white breakfast gravy. So this is coming together. My camera is about to die, so I'm going to show you guys the finished product. All right, you guys, biscuits and gravy all done, and it smells so good. So I'm gonna dig into this, and then I will come back and show you guys the focaccia bread later on. So yum. So I just got some groceries delivered, so I was putting those away, but it is time. The time has come to finish off the focaccia bread. So I've actually just let it, let's see, what time was it earlier? 6:30, and I've just let it sit on the counter since then. So it's 10 now. So look how much it's fluffed up. So I am going to get all the toppings ready for this. I have the oven preheated to 425. So I'm just keeping it super, super simple. We're gonna do salt, we're gonna do pepper, we're gonna do oil, and we're gonna do garlic and rosemary. That is all we're gonna do, I think. I have a shallot. Do I wanna cut up a shallot and put that on there as well? Let's do half of it with a shallot, half of it without, because my brother's not a big fan of shallots, So I just dimpled the dough. So you just press your fingers nice in here. And you can put anything you want on focaccia, like for toppings, but I am gonna keep it super simple since this is my first time making this. So I'm just going to do, like I said, I'm just gonna do garlic and rosemary and shallot on half of it. So I'm gonna mix up some minced garlic and olive oil and brush that over the top. You want to put more oil on here. I know you're probably thinking this is a ton of oil, but you want it to be nice and oily. So I'm gonna drizzle a little more oil over this. And then I'm gonna do some minced garlic. Spread that out over the top so there's not any big clumps. Okay. Now I'm gonna sprinkle some shallots on here and some rosemary and some salt, and we will be ready to go in the oven. Next time I'll probably do like olives or tomatoes or something like that on here as well, but like I said, first time, keeping it simple. Do half with rosemary and half with shallots and see how that turns out. Trial and error, people. Never done this before. Feels fancy, but like it was really simple, honestly. Now let's just hope it bakes up nice and yummy. Do some salt. And some pepper. All right, now we're gonna go in the oven. So I'm gonna put it in at 425 for like 20 to 25 minutes. I'm just gonna keep a watch on it. When it gets nice and crusty and brown on the top, I'll pull it out. Hey, Google set a timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. And that's starting now.
All right, as usual, I will show you guys the finished product. It smells so good in here. We have 2 minutes before I'm gonna pull it. So I've left it in for about 30 minutes. And I'm gonna pull it in just a second. I'm just letting it get a little browner on the top. And then I'm gonna pull it. It smells so, so good. I got these wire racks ready to pull it out and let it cool, because you're gonna let it cool for 20 minutes before you cut it or do anything. So I'm going to get it off the pan and put it on these so the cooking stops. So I will show you guys when I pull it out. All right, you guys, I just pulled it out of the oven. It looks so good. So I'm gonna get it off the pan and onto the cooling racks, and we're just gonna let it cool. I'll turn off the oven. And that is where we're gonna end this vlog. So I'll have to let you guys know in the next vlog how this is. So you'll have to stay tuned for that, for the next one. And we didn't get a chance to, organize the pantry. So we'll do that in the next vlog as well. But I'm gonna get this off and let it cool. And we are gonna go ahead and end this one. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know if you liked the cooking in this one. There's a lot of cooking in it. Let me know if you liked that. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.